Hello and welcome to Unacademy, one-stop destination for civil services aspirants. Welcome to this special session where we are going to carry out a detailed discussion of GS Paper 3, which was held today. Now, in this particular session, we are going to have a discussion starting with economy, understand which were the questions and what was the context of those questions being asked in economy, and whether a student should have understood or predicted those kind of questions as well. To be followed by a discussion with Chetan sir, and that is where we are going to have a detailed coverage for not only environment ecology, internal security, but as well as economy. So one by one, we start with the questions. So Shyam sir, first of all, what was your overall understanding of the GS paper?
My overall viewpoint is that, sir, compared to last year, the number of questions is the same, 7 to 8, but the difficulty level has come down, right? If you look at, let's say, the kind of questions which have been asked this year, food processing, straightforward question. The question on, let's say, the agriculture sector, right, on expected lines. So difficulty level, lesser. A lot of questions are easily answerable. You don't have to be an expert.
Right.
But having said so, question on schemes, right, that is also on schemes, which is asked generally every year. One question has been asked.
So on predictable lines, you would say?
Yes, on predictable.
And Chetan sir, your first reaction on the type of questions which have been?
I feel GS Paper 3 was much easier compared to, let's say, GS Paper 2.
Okay.
Questions were pretty straightforward, all based on current affairs, especially internal security questions, and topics could have been anticipated as well.
Right.
So pretty easy paper, sir.
And can we safely say all the questions have been discussed in the classes previously?
Absolutely. In YouTube, in our Hindu analysis, our
Right.
plus classes,
Conquer
UCAN sessions.
Conquer
Conquer mains.
Conquer mains.
And the questions and the notes that we have also provided, I think,
Right.
should have helped the students.
So, in a way, if a student is regular in the sessions, they would have found these questions easier. So, without further ado, let's start with the discussion of the economy paper. Shyam sir, please carry ahead with the first question.
So, I'm pretty sure all of the students know question number 1 to 10 are 10 markers,
Right.
and 11 to 20 are 15 markers. So, question number 1, distinguish between the HDI and IHDI with a special reference to India. Why is the IHDI considered a better indicator? Right. Why
Right.
is-
So, in this, sir, was this question expected this year?
Not specifically the term IHDI. A lot of the students would be confused with the term IHDI. But
Right.
as such, the concept of HDI is very famous and is discussed in the classroom, right? Social issues, etc. What UPSC has done is the typical thing where they will bring one concept, merge it with another concept, and ask a question.
Okay.
1 year it will be infrastructure, inclusive growth. Another it will be, right, let's say welfare, inclusive growth. This year it is a human development index and inclusive growth. So, what should be the approach regarding this kind of a question? The question is very much straightforward. Nothing is challenging in this sense. If you know the concept, you can directly write the answer. And that's where every time, I'm pretty sure you also get the same question. Students keep on asking, should I memorize all the data?
Yes.
And we keep on saying, not all the data, but at least important data,
Relevant.
poverty, reports of United Nations, World Bank reports, etc. So, start with an introduction, straightforward, write what is a Human Development Index, or I would prefer start with the current affairs. According to the HDI report of 2025, India's ranking is so and so, and the number, the score for India is so and so. Then they can basically mention what is HDI, Human Development Index, what are the 3 indicators.
Do we need to go
Wait.
into the details of these
Not
indicators? as well?
required. Reason being, this is for 150 words. If it is an essay question, it's a different approach
Yes.
altogether.
True.
150 words, there are 2 parts to the question.
Yeah.
They will not be able to write all the things, and as such, I think it works in the favor of the students because they don't have to remember everything. Right? So, 3 indicators are these, right? In addition to that, what is IHDI? Basically, we are adjusting what is the impact of inequality on the Human Development Index. If there is a person who is poor, for example, the issue is Human Development Index is an average.
Right.
But if a person is very poor, it will have an impact on the development as well as the inclusivity of the person.
Okay.
So when you talk about IHDI, basically it measures that. What is the impact of inequality on the development indicators? So that is IHDI. Then basically they are asking with special reference to India.
So here data pointers.
Yes. Right. So the latest report which has been published, what does it say?
Okay.
What is India's ranking? What is the score? What is the impact of inequality on the score? That they will have to mention. HDI score is this much, IHDI score is this much. And IHDI is considered as a better indicator for inclusive growth because, like I said, HDI is an average number. You do not understand what is the intensity of inequality, what is the impact of inequality, right, on the overall development indicators. That's the reason IHDI is a better indicator compared to HDI for measuring the inclusive growth. Because inclusive growth in a nutshell is what? The development as well as the growth. So India is achieving growth, but if you're not able to achieve development associated with that, that is exclusive growth. And in case of India, looking at the score, there is always a concern.
Okay.
So IHDI is a better indicator to measure inclusive growth rather than HDI.
So we can also say that UPSC has been focusing on this trend. You had a question on multidimensional poverty index as well. And this was asked in prelims as well. So there has been a trend.
The idea of poverty or concept of poverty as such for UPSC is important.
Okay.
And anything associated with poverty, it automatically will become important. So from one year to another year, the dimension might change. The question asked might change. But the area associated with the development and growth is generally one area covered in the mains examination.
Perfect.
So question number 2, what are the challenges before the Indian economy when the world is moving away from free trade and multilateralism to protectionism and bilateralism?
Right.
How can these challenges be met?
Right.
I've kept on telling the students in the special classes or let's say UCAN sessions or even Conquer mains because of Mr. Donald Trump, or as we call them, or him, Donald G.
Yeah.
Right? So argument is, this was on expected lines. This should not be shocking to anyone. Because in the last 4 to 5 months, the kind of volatility and turmoil that we have seen, it is very much on expected lines. So what are the challenges before the Indian economy? And for this kind of question, you don't have to be an expert. That's the beauty of this question. You don't have to be an expert. Why? What are the challenges that Indian economy is facing? Compare it to, let's say, earlier a question which was asked on what are the challenges of telecom sector.
Okay.
Then you'll have to be an expert. What are the challenges faced by the textile sector? Expert. Now, what are the challenges faced by the Indian economy because of what Mr. Donald Trump is doing? And you'll have to basically list out.
But that also means that you have to list certain sectors specific, for example, automobile, textiles.
And if they are reading newspapers, all of this is easier.
Right.
That's the reason we keep on telling the students, focus on current affairs.
Yes.
Do not expect that whatever is given in the book, straightforward will be asked in the mains examination. No, focus on current affairs. And if they are focused, have a conceptual clarity from current affairs, these kind of questions are very easy for them. But having said so, they are not expected to write a very common answer as well.
Okay. Yeah.
For example, let's say somebody uses the term noodle ball phenomenon or spaghetti phenomenon, which was used by Mr. Arvind Panagiria. Obviously, evaluator will be more focused on those kind of words. They will give additional 0.5 marks. And that's a huge difference when you look at the outcomes in the mains examination. So, intro, very simple, connected to current affairs. Right? Anything that is there in the current affairs. For example, the volatility that is taking place between India and the USA, or India with the global trade, or if you can quote UNACAD report, which has stated that the global trade would be affected because of high volatility. That's more than sufficient. Then come to the main body. What are the challenges before India? It will have an impact on trade that India does. It will have an impact on employment in India. It will have an impact on the growth that India can achieve. Because very recently OECD report also says the same thing. Because of the tariff war, India's growth rate would be dragged by so much percentage. So employment, imports, exports, access to resources, access to technology, and moreover, there is one more term from trade and multilateralism. You can even insert World Trade Organization here. Right. So impact on the global agencies such as WTO, or for that matter, again, it will be an extrapolation, World Health Organization, etc. But stick to economics. These are the, let's say, main body points. Then you will also have to mention how can these challenges be met. Right? Give the way forward. Give the recommendation. What kind of recommendation? You need to diversify your export basket. You need to diversify your trading partners. And that's where the current affairs examples such as negotiations with other countries that India is doing, you can mention. You will have to mention about protecting global organizations such as World Trade Organization, which China very recently has stated, we support India's stand. We want WTO to be protected. Mention that. because you require global multilateral agencies. Otherwise, right, Mr. Trump will basically, he will not have any kind of control now, and he will do whatever he wants.
Is there
to
any scope to mention the recently concluded India-UK FTA and
Yes.
the negotiation of
And that's where basically the argument of diversification will come into picture.
destination market?
Yes, right. Diversify not only your products,
Right.
right, and that's where I keep on telling them, mention key terms. For example, it's not that we are not exporting.
Okay.
We are an exporter, one of the largest exporter, but we are easily replaceable.
Right.
And when Trump will impose 50% tariff, we are worried because Vietnam will become, products will become cheaper compared to us. So what can you do? Specialized products, high value products rather than low value products.
Okay.
Students are expected to mention this.
Okay.
And once you mention, right, basically the evaluator will understand, yes, you know the integrities.
Depth is there.
You know the conceptual, you have the conceptual clarity. So export basket, export destination, right, provide relief to the MSMEs, that is being discussed.
Yeah.
Promote domestic production, that is Atmanirbharata, self-reliance.
Yes.
15th August Independence Day
Yes.
speech,
Yes.
right? So high value manufacturing, protect and revive global institution. You have covered intro, you have covered the main body, and you have written the way forward.
Okay.
And challenge for the students here will be, you are supposed to write all of this in 150 words. Right? So if you write a very lengthy, right, intro, essay, you would have written nothing in main body as well as the way forward.
Rather than long paragraphs,
Yes.
pointers and sub-paragraphs.
Because you are expected to write the challenges as well as way forward. If you write a paragraph there itself, you will be able to hit 150 words. So pointers will basically help you. Question number 3. Explain the factors influencing the decision of the farmers on the selection of high value crops in India. Again, not a very specialized question per se. Any UPSC aspirant, you ask them what are the problems associated with agriculture, they will be able to write it. But having said so, how can you differentiate your answer? Because everybody will write the same point. Why will the evaluator give you 0.5 marks, etc.? That's the reason, include current affairs.
Okay.
For example, very recently there is a discussion on biofuels.
Yes.
There was one article which said, because there is a higher demand for biofuels, more and more farmers are shifting away from the production of cereals to maize cultivation now.
Okay.
And the moment you shift the cultivation like this, food security would be affected.
Impacted.
Right? Higher crops such as sugar cane, corn plus sugar cane, which is used for ethanol production now. Sugar cane is a water intensive crop.
Yes.
Water intensive means, again, you can connect it to, right, let's say underground water depletion, etc. So it is always better to start with a current affairs intro, which will grab the attention of the evaluator.
We can we mention some facts like horticultural production
Yes.
of India has increased to more than 330
Yes.
billion metric tons.
That's how you can differentiate your answer compared to 99% of the people.
Right.
Because evaluator will keep on reading the same thing again and again from everybody who has written.
Right.
Everybody will keep on writing about farmers in the intro. Evaluator would have seen that 100 times in a day.
Okay.
How will you differentiate your answer compared to somebody else's? Get that additional 0.5, mention that particular term. Mention certain current affairs point, automatically you will be able to grab the attention. So what are the factors influencing the decision of the farmers in selecting high value crops? Right, you can basically mention these kind of pointers. For example, is the technology available for the farmer? For the cultivation, right, etc. Is the technology available? For example, GM crops. Is it available? Right, a lot of these crops, GM is not available in India.
Controversial topic,
Yes.
but expected.
Yes, expected. You can bring in the current affairs at, right, a certain point. Will it influence the farmer's decision to cultivate? Yes. What about the inputs? Right, for these kind of crops, you might require fertilizers. You might require seeds. You might require, right, other inputs, right, water, irrigation facility, etc. That will again influence the cultivation cycle.
Yeah.
What about the market volatility? Does the government provide MSP for this? Or there is no MSP? In that case, you are basically thrown open to the market completely. No procurement because no MSP given by the government. So, is the sufficient infrastructure available? Marketing infrastructure,
Right.
such as APMC,
Okay.
which you can connect it to again ENAM now.
Yeah.
Right? Marketing support, is it available? Export potential, is it available? right? So these are the various factors based on which the farmer will take a call, whether should I cultivate these crops or not.
And do we also stress upon the stagnating farm income, because Economic Survey previously had
Yes.
focused upon it, that when we talk about the other laborers, their income has increased as compared to the farm laborers.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That is also a very important factor.
Yeah.
Within that itself, there is one more report of Government of India which says, why do farmers cultivate more of cereals?
Right.
Even though government doesn't procure all of it.
Yeah.
Why does the farmer cultivate more and more cereals? Answer to that is, for every rupee that you've invested in cereals, you get more returns compared to the returns that you get on pulses.
Okay.
Right? That is the reason the farmers keep on ending up cultivating more and more of cereals, and the pulses production would be affected, prices will fluctuate, cobweb phenomenon, etc., etc. So these are the kind of pointers that the student is
One can
expecting.
also mention, for example, the recommendation of the Ashok Dalwai Committee.
Yes.
Ashok Dalwai Committee had also recommended about the growth of high value crops, and that was also the case with the Sardara Singh Jol Commission, which was set up way back in the 80s.
Yes.
So that could be
That they can mention in way forward or the conclusion here. Right?
yeah.
Because again, as a civil
limitation.
service aspirant, you are supposed to write a way forward,
Yeah.
not simply write the problem and close the answer. They can mention that in the let's say conclusion.
Perfect.
Next, question number 4. Elaborate the scope and significance of supply chain management of agriculture commodities in India.
Okay.
Again, a very, very general question. General in the sense, there earlier, last year, I believe 2023, there was a question which asked specifically on upstreaming process in agriculture
Okay.
or downstreaming process in agriculture. Here, they are not focused on upstream or downstream. They are simply saying supply chain.
Yeah.
Supply chain basically means what? From the point of sourcing your inputs to the point of selling the crop to the consumer. Whatever activities that you conduct is nothing but a supply chain.
Farm to table.
Yes, right. Basically from the farm to fork.
Yeah.
Right. All the activities will comprise of supply chain management.
Perfect.
And this kind of question is a very easy question to write. And that's where again I keep on emphasizing that quote current affairs.
Yes.
Quote data, so that your answer is not very generic answer. Right? Because supply chain, everybody will write. Everybody will know from farm to fork what activities are there. That's where you'll have to keep on writing the data or reports of the government, committee recommendations, so that that particular 1 point will fetch you 0.25 marks or 0.5 marks extra. So what are the points that you are expected to write? From farm to fork, inputs, what are the inputs? Fertilizer. What is the scope? Fertilizer. There is a huge demand for fertilizer. And in current affairs, multiple states have been demanding access to fertilizer because there is a shortage now. Right? There is a huge scope of production of fertilizer in India, but you can't write all of it, because only fertilizer will become an essay.
Yeah.
Right? So input sourcing, there is a huge potential, huge scope here. Production, nitro fertilizer, the nano fertilizers, right? The supply of that, production, self-reliance, etc. Production as well as harvesting. For example, in case of harvesting, right, basically a lot of the technology is being used in multiple states now. Production, drone technology, drone Didi, right, or SMAM, submission on agriculture mechanization, or for that matter, solar pumping, etc. All of that can be mentioned here. Third is logistics. Government is promoting warehousing, silos, right, development of silos through PPP, development of cold chain infrastructure, etc., etc. That also plays a very important role here. And just to add one particular point, just to improve the quality of answer, you can also mention there is a lack of this in India. There is shortage of this. That's the reason wastages in agriculture sector is very high, and that is hurting the income of the farmers. Marketing, ENAM, APMC, and the domestic consumption as well as exports, right? So this also can be mentioned. All of these will basically cover the supply chain management of agriculture. Done?
So this was also an easier question.
Easier, because you don't have to be an expert to write these kind of answers, but you'll have to make your answer qualitative.
Last year in agriculture, they had asked about the changing cropping pattern.
Yes.
So many of them faced difficulty.
Yeah.
This was
Much easier. Yeah. So question number 11. This one I felt was unexpected.
Okay.
Unexpected in the sense, there is an index which has been published by Niti Aayog. A lot of discussion has not happened on it. But this question basically covers what is the overall discussion that has been happening. For example, in the context of Himachal Pradesh, right, there is a concern that the finances of Himachal Pradesh are not correct, or there is a worrisome trend. Or for that matter, the state of Kerala. What is happening between the state of Kerala as well as the central government regarding the finances, etc. So argument is, yes, the first part of the question, or let's say the focus of the question is slightly, I would simply say, the term is more focused in prelims. They have picked up that particular area and asked a question in the mains examination. But nevertheless, Niti Aayog report.
Yeah.
Niti Aayog report. This is basically a Niti Aayog index. And I expected a question on straightforward Niti Aayog, because Niti Aayog has completed 10 years.
Okay.
They have not picked up Niti Aayog. They have asked a question on the report of Niti Aayog, because again, right, what is happening in the context of the state finances. So you are expected to write what is the fiscal health index. We have covered that in multiple sessions. For example, in UCAN. This is a screenshot of the notes that I provided in UCAN itself. So Niti Aayog for the first time has published a report like this. What is the importance of the report? We are basically promoting transparency amongst the states. There is a term called as competitive federalism. When you basically provide an index and start ranking the states want to achieve better. States want to get a better ranking. In order to provide or earn better ranking, they will have to start performing well. And when they start performing well, especially in case of the financial health, that is not only good for the states, it is a good outcome overall for India. So it will promote accountability of the states. It will promote transparency amongst the states. It will promote fiscal prudence. They are supposed to throw this particular term, fiscal prudence, amongst the states. And not to forget, competitive federalism.
Yes.
Right? So these are certain important pointers that the students are expected to write associated with this particular question.
Okay.
Done? Okay. Question number 12 now. Discuss the rationale of the production linked incentive. Right? Scheme, what is its achievement? In what way can the functioning and outcomes of the scheme be improved? I would simply say one question on the scheme is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right? It could be in social issue paper or GS paper 3. It will be there. It will be there. And in fact, when we covered the schemes, not only in the Conquer mains, in UCAN also, or for that matter, U2 free initiative also, I mentioned that this is a very, very important scheme. Reason being, multiple reports were there in the newspaper raising questions over PLI. Government had to come out and defend PLI. They gave a very big clarification as to what PLI has achieved. And moreover, in this year itself, USA has dragged India to World Trade Organization, raised questions over PLI. There is an allegation that PLI is basically trade distorting measure. So in that particular context, yes, schemes very important, and it's also a fact that you can't cover all the 100+ schemes. So what is the thumb rule? Try to cover those schemes which are very often discussed in the newspaper. Try to focus on those 10-15 schemes which are often discussed, and there is a lot of pros and cons being discussed. If there's a scheme where only good things are being let's say announced, UPSC may not ask the question of critical evaluation. Right? So this particular question of, let's say, 10 to 12 schemes which are there in the discussion, yes, right, this is an important scheme, has been there in the newspaper. Straightforward question.
Because the outcomes was
outcomes,
also,
yes, right. So, and moreover, 2025, the scheme is going to complete 5 years.
5 years.
Right. So obviously, 5 year, 10 year by default, we'll have to focus. So, what are the points you are expected to write? Right. Introduction point on PLI. Introduction, again, current affairs. Mention that the government of USA has raised questions over the implementation of PLI. Then come to the main body. Right. And sir, many of the students asked, should we write introduction which is current affairs oriented? My personal opinion is write more current affairs oriented.
Okay.
And my argument is, especially in subject of economics,
Okay.
if you write what is PLI, 99 people out of 100 would have written the same thing. Right? Why will the evaluator give you that additional marks?
Okay.
And why will evaluator be attracted towards your answer? What is your opinion on this, sir?
Sir, so it depends from subject to subject.
Yes, yes.
You are correct in terms
Absolutely
of economy,
right.
but I always tell the candidates that identify the key phrase of the question.
Yeah.
And your introduction should consist of those
on that
phrases,
particular topic. Yes.
So you are correct in terms of economy. The way to authenticate your introduction is to provide certain.
Because let's say there is a static subject. There is no current affairs on that.
Yes.
You can't bring in current affairs, try to stand out of the line or a queue. You will fail. But here in these kind of topics, right? Let's say where there is a lot of current affairs being discussed, if the evaluator has to be focused, interested to go to the main body of your answer and not decide what will be the quality of answer, looking at intro itself, you will have to distinguish your answer compared to everybody else. And that's where reports of the government, reports of the World Bank, or these kind of, let's say, allegations of USA, or the speech of Prime Minister on 15th August can be picked up and used in the introduction to basically grab the attention of the evaluator.
Very important to underline those facts that you are mentioning as well to stand out. Very important.
You will have to underline. That will basically, catch the attention of the evaluator. They will simply look at the pointers which have been underlined and say, yes, everything has been covered. Right. So, PLI, right, discuss the rationale of PLI. Simple. Promotion of self-reliance, promotion of investment in the domestic market, creation of employment, promotion of exports, integration of Indian market with the global market, not to forget earnings.
Role of manufacturing.
Right, manufacturing, employment, and ultimately GDP. Everything has to boil down to GDP. Right, so these are the reasons why Government of India is promoting the PLI. And just to add value to the answer, they can even quote the example of smartphone manufacturing.
Right.
We have become the exporter of smartphone manufacturing. That is a success story that Government of India will keep on talking about. Right. So what are the achievements? Right. Investment. And all of that data is there. Because the discussion was there in the current affairs, everything from current affairs you can take. Investment, employment generation, etc. Yes, mention that particular data. But there is also question mark over the functioning, right? The functioning of the scheme. Have all the sectors which have been covered under this, have they benefited? There's a question mark over that. Are we promoting manufacturing or assembly in India?
Yes.
There's a question mark over that. The SOPs which are used by the different ministries for the companies which are covered, the standard operating procedure is different, which is causing a lot of delays. And there is also concern that even though the companies are covered, they are submitting all the documents, they are not getting the benefits, right? That is the returns very quickly.
Okay.
Right. So these are the concerns. And finally, you can recommend a way forward based on the concerns that you have raised.
Perfect.
Right. So this is the model answer to the question, the PLI. Question number 14. Examine the scope of food processing industries in India. Elaborate the measures taken by the government in the food processing industries for generating employment opportunities.
Okay.
I am not surprised by the questions, because one question is generally guaranteed on food processing. And that has been the trend. May not be every year, but let's say 2 out of 3 years, there will be a question on food processing. Either they will ask you to write the benefits of food processing, or they will ask you to write about the challenges faced by the food processing. They will ask you to write about the reforms implemented by the Government of India. I'll tell you something very interesting. We have launched a new initiative by the name of Economy This Week, wherein every week we are covering, let's say, 5 to 6 articles from different newspapers, because the students will not be able to read all the different newspapers. So on behalf of the students, I am reading it. I am making notes, and at the end of the session, I generally provide one assignment question. And the model is very simple. I give them the article and I ask them to read the article first, attempt the question. In one of the ETWs, that is for this particular date, 19 to 25th June, there was one article which was written by the Minister of State of Food Processing. And I told the students, please read the article, attempt this particular question. And the reason I said was very simple. This article has been written by Minister of State of Government of India. And he has basically listed out what is the importance of food processing, what has the Government of India done. If you look at the question which I gave as an assignment and the question which was asked by UPSC, these are pretty much similar. It's not that everything that we say will come, but these kind of practices will help the students to understand what they're supposed to write.
It just indicates that there's a kind of a predictability to the basic examination. It is not a random throw of ideas.
And especially when the government representative is writing, and the weightage of the article suddenly increases, the importance of that increases. Right. So examine the scope of food processing. Yes, there is a huge scope in India. agriculture sector accounts for more than 46% of the working population. Most of the households, right, poor households and marginal households depend on agriculture.
Yes.
Right, agriculture sector production in India, in many of the areas, India stands first or the second or at least in the top 5. Milk, right, or wheat production, rice production, fruit production, etc. So there is a huge scope of food processing. Now that is the first part. Second part is elaborate the measures taken by the government in the food processing industry. This is basically the summary of the article that I had shown earlier.
Okay.
This is basically the summary. The minister had given, right? So these are the schemes that we have implemented in the last. And in fact, what was done in the recent year budget on food processing was also mentioned. Best example, your state, sir, Makhana.
Right.
That was mentioned by the minister, right? He said the way we are promoting food processing in recent times is look at the Makhana board that we have announced.
Yes.
And that was announced very recently in the budget. He said we are focused on food processing. Okay. We want to leverage agriculture sector, ensure farmers' earning will be better. Right? So straightforward question, nothing special or nothing, let's say, too difficult with this. You know this or you don't know. And they should have known this because food processing as an area is important.
And important to mention the government schemes as well under this.
Yes, right. And as far as possible, try to take the schemes data from PIB website.
Okay.
Right, because that is a valid document, authentic document. So straightforward question, nothing difficult, right? A very easy question. And overall, I feel compared to last year, this year the question paper, especially from GS paper 3 standpoint, Indian economy. My personal opinion is it was easier. It was easier. And that's where again it is easier means it's not easily scoring also.
My argument is the same that when you find an easy paper, that means it is tough to actually get good marks.
Because everybody will write the same points. Everybody will basically write the same thing.
Yes.
And that's where how you have written, how you have structured your answer. Have you incorporated current affairs or not? Or you have simply ratified a textbook and simply vomited that. That will make a lot of difference.
And also if a student is able to, you were talking about some of the schemes.
Yeah.
So in economy, someone is able to prepare some topic-based notes.
Yes.
For the schemes and keep on updating that you also talk about in the class.
Yes.
So that would also something, something you would recommend?
Yeah, I would I've always spoken in favor of current affairs.
Right.
I've told the students, let's say 7 questions are asked from Indian economy, including again agriculture, because agriculture will fall in geography also, will fall in economy also. But let's hypothetically say 7 questions. I've told the students, out of 7 questions, guaranteed 5 to 6 will be from current affairs.
Right.
You cannot write a complete or let's say even effective answer only with the textbook knowledge there.
Yes.
And if you write that, they will not give you marks.
No.
First and foremost, scoring is difficult. Right? Even if you write the best answer, you will get half of what is the maximum number of marks. So that additional 1 mark or half a mark, etc., you can get out of the evaluator by incorporating current affairs. Right? So don't simply ratify everything that is there in the book. Understanding base is important, but only the base will not help you to get more marks. You will have to have a higher building, and that is basically current affairs.
Done. Okay.
So
overall for economy, you would say it was easy.
It was compared to last year, compared to that, it's much easier, sir.
Perfect.
Okay.
Right.
Now, environment and
we
ecology.
Come to the portion of environment and ecology.
Chetan, sir.
Now, I'll be joined by Chetan, sir, here. So, overall, in environment ecology, as compared to last year, one could observe that the number of questions were more. The weightage was slightly more as compared to last year. But what one can also observe is the case that if you again had a good track of the conceptual portions and if you have followed the portion of the current affairs as well, then this was easier paper to actually get their way through. So that is the portion of environment ecology. One by one, sir, we will take a look at the questions.
Yes.
And
Would you like
in fact, for disaster management and environment ecology, we share just a moment. Yes, sir. So basically, as I was telling you that in the case of environment ecology for disaster management and environment, we have one common question.
Right.
That is about the coastal erosion.
Erosion and how it is a hazard.
So
Right.
we both of us can discuss that as well.
Correct.
So we start
I
with
think
the
that is one change as well. Usually
Yeah.
there would have been one specific disaster management question,
Yes.
one or two sometimes.
right.
But this time I think that
Earlier,
change
you
has-
had specific questions associated with Sendai
Correct.
and the evolution of that.
Correct.
But this year, it was not a separate question, but
It's a fusion of environment and disaster.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that is why you need conceptual clarity.
Right, so let's
Very
start.
important.
Yeah.
So the first question about carbon capture, utilization and storage, and what is the potential role when it comes to climate change. Now, this was an expected question owing to the region in news.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we don't give attention to that. So in places in news, we had covered about the region of Norway and Øygarden in Norway,
Right.
where you have the Northern Lights project, which was launched, and that was the first official backed by a government carbon capture utilization scheme which was launched. Now, what is carbon capture and its utilization? So it is an artificial measure to capture and remove the carbon dioxide and the carbon compounds from the atmosphere.
Right.
Now we know that this is basically a greenhouse gas. So here, first of all, in the introduction, you have to define this. What do you mean by that? And it is not a nature-based solution. It is an artificial solution.
So they can mention it's a type of geoengineering.
It is a type of a geoengineering. That is how they can begin the answer.
Correct, sir.
So once they do that, then after that, the potential role that they can mention. So first of all, the process of it, how do they carry it out? So you have the direct air capture, which is done in terms of the artificial ones. Transportation and its logistics becomes an important part. That is where Northern Lights project stands out in terms of laying separate pipelines and also allowing for container vessels to transport that carbon.
Right.
So that was a unique portion which can be highlighted. And the storage, where do you carry out the storage of it? So that also has varied aspects. You can carry it out in depleted oil reserves, which can enhance your recovery of those oil and gas fields as well.
Correct.
It can create some of the coal gas. And remember, that is also a question which has been repeated in prelims
Prelims as well.
for last 2 years.
Correct.
So there is a linkage in terms of the topics that you want to
Correct.
focus.
Correct.
And then obviously the example has to be mentioned. After that, the impact, I think impact was pretty easy. What will happen if you remove carbon dioxide? Reduces the greenhouse effect, brings about a factor of cooling. It helps meet countries or countries like India can help meet their climate objectives and the climate goals as well.
So this again shows how current affairs questions can drive static concept-based topics.
Absolutely, sir. You are correct. Something which is in news.
Yeah.
You have to know the basic concept.
Correct.
You cannot simply drive on the froth of the current affairs itself. And in fact, you will never retain if you don't have the information of the
Because
static.
many students, they always find these subjects, especially paper 3, to be difficult. Because syllabus is very vast.
Yeah.
One way to narrow it down, I think, is correctly, as you pointed out, is to pick out current affairs topics, cover everything connected to that from the static and conceptual part.
And in fact, sir, this is something which has appeared multiple times in the newspaper as well.
Yeah.
And as we were discussing that if a student had been regular only in the newspaper analysis for the past year,
Yeah.
many of the questions in GS paper 3, almost all of them
Yeah.
have been covered somewhere or the right. So I hope we are back.
Are we live?
Yes. So basically, these were the points. Very important to mention meeting the climate targets, because this is a major problem being faced by all the developed countries. And that is where they are actually moving away from the principle of CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility. And this is where all the underdeveloped and the developing nations are asking for financial and technological help as well. So this aspect of climate targets, that is very important to be mentioned. But again, a straightforward, simple question for 10 marks, no particular difficulty in that. Now, this is a question, part disaster management and part environment ecology. Seawater intrusion in the coastal aquifers is a major concern in India. What are the causes? So first of all, causes of seawater intrusion and remedial measures to combat this hazard. So when we talk about seawater intrusion, it is being observed in many areas. For example, when you talk about the coastal areas of Sundarbans, when you talk about even in the region of the Coromandel coastline,
Correct.
we have seen already that region of Sriharikota. Now there, due to coastal erosion, even the launch pad is at risk.
Yeah.
Then the same thing is happening in Goa as well.
On the Malabar coast as
Malabar coast as well. You have more number of backwaters which are coming into play.
Correct.
So seawater has basically impacted the coastal aquifer. So reason is very important. Now, in terms of the reasons, the basic reason that everybody could have written is about sea level rise. We had a question about it yesterday as well in GS paper 1. So due to sea level rise, you always have the coastal intrusion and the ingression of the seawater. So that tends to vitiate the ponds, lakes, rivers, and even underground seepage does happen. Coastal erosion and fracturing of rocks. Now, due to increased coastal wave action, the rocks break and that seawater enters and percolates into the kind of permeable rock structure from where we extract the water.
Natural weathering.
Yes, natural weathering. So it is a kind of a serial action that first of all, if the erosion starts to happen, they will start hitting the rocks. The rocks will get fractured and it will enter.
Right.
Then deforestation of mangroves in the region of Malabar, in the region of even Coromandel coastline and even in Sundarbans. This has triggered massive scale of migration of population from the islands in the Sundarbans and even in the inland areas particularly. So this mangrove, which acts as a buffer, is no longer present. So that is why the seawater comes in. Then when you have the case of frequent storm surges, due to global warming and climate change, sir, we have more cases of tropical cyclones which are getting more frequent, more stronger. They bring in larger waves, and those waves and tidal effects can often intrude inland.
So extreme weather events.
Extreme weather
which
events
contributes to tidal activity.
Perfect. And the violation of CRZ norms, which have been very common ever since the CRZ norms were changed in 2018. This has been diluted to such an extent. And there have been multiple editorial pieces written about it, that how that has been damaging the coastal ecosystem. Because you start developing, let's suppose, societies or buildings across the coastal areas, and that stops or completely destroys the natural buffer.
True.
So the water comes
because
in.
one way to mitigate the impact of such incidents is to mainly enforce the regulations.
Yes.
Enforce land use planning.
Yes.
Demarcate the areas and restrict human activities.
Right.
Well, as you correctly said, when CRZ norms are blatantly violated, this
and
leads
basically it is the something which was expected ever since it was diluted in 2018. This is something now, it is very difficult to keep the regulation as well. That is where integrated coastal zone management, these particular terminologies, please do use that. That adds weightage. And there is one particular aspect that oftentimes candidates miss out, is the over extraction of groundwater. When you have over extraction of groundwater, now that empty aquifer in the land areas, that acts oftentimes as a suction pump. So that starts pulling in water. So in a kind of an osmosis process as well. So that is where also you will find that underground penetration of the seawater is happening, particularly in the fracture zone around the Malvan coast and around the subsidence zone of Maharashtra coastline. So that is something which could add variation to your answer. These were very generic points. Everybody would have written this, but this is something which is slightly out of ordinary, which should have been added in the answer. Now, in terms of the impact of it, water security impact. Now, once the seawater does intrude, agricultural loss happens, and that can trigger migrational patterns. And that will also have impact in terms of terrestrial biodiversity, be it the plant ecosystems. They are not used to the saline conditions, and even the animals, they basically, and we have seen this in terms of the dip in the migratory species of birds, which would come, particularly in the region around Nal Sarovar and Gujarat wetlands. Now they have been impacted. That is why their numbers have been declining in certain particular cases.
They can even mention displacement of coastal communities.
Yes.
The coastal villages which could be caused by.
Absolutely. And that is where Sundarban Delta example, which has triggered massive scale of migration, that can be mentioned. And remedial measures. So nature-based solution, you can have mangrove cover, artificial pumping of water near coastline, coastal barriers. For example, you can have artificial barriers, sort of embankments as well, to prevent erosion. Regular monitoring is very important, and that is where what you were talking about, regulations.
Yeah.
Strict monitoring of the regulations, enforcement of these norms, howsoever diluted the norms are, that has to be monitored. And implementation of integrated coastal zone management. So straightforward again. If you knew and followed the current affairs, you would be able to do so.
Right.
Now, examine the factors responsible for depleting groundwater in India. What are the steps taken by the government to mitigate such depletion of groundwater? Now, this question has been asked because, sir, there was a detailed report which was brought out by the Jal Shakti Ministry.
Correct.
And that is where we had had a long discussion in the UCAN sessions as well.
Right, sir. I think you have covered this in great detail.
Yes, so we had covered it. So it was very much on the expected lines, and that is something we can hold as a pattern for economy as well and environment as well. When these important reports do come out, and this report was so detailed after a long period of time, state-wise, what is the groundwater extraction level and the depletion level? And that was mentioned. And also to mention, this is not the first time UPSC is asking this question.
It's a repeat topic.
It is a repeat topic.
Sir, if you remember, Niti Aayog also had a report regarding the alarming groundwater crisis in Indian cities. So if students were following all these repeat developments, it should be easy to
And also
answer.
tells you the importance of looking at PYQs as well.
Yes.
Analyzing the
PYQs.
in terms of the focus areas that you can identify.
Correct.
So straightforward, the reasons for the groundwater depletion, over extraction, agriculture is one of the major causes. In terms of agriculture, we can cover the policy aspect. Policy in terms of the subsidy of electricity that we provide. In many of the regions, it is almost free.
Right.
So that means the tube wells are running throughout the day, and that has been pumping groundwater. For example, in Punjab, now the situation is so dire that you have uranium and cadmium which comes out in the groundwater. Then unsustainable irrigation practices, for example, flood irrigation. Now, again, a pattern of UPSC. UPSC has been asking about direct seeding of rice. UPSC has been asking about rice wheat cycle. All of that is aimed towards this groundwater depletion.
Correct.
And this is where it is linked to the stubble burning, again something we have discussed.
Can they link this with monocropping as well, sir?
Yes, sir.
Preference for certain types of crops which are water intensive.
Yes, so that is where lack of crop diversification.
Right.
Sir. So this is an outcome of the green revolution that we have.
Correct.
So you only focus upon rice. And for example, when we talk about the region of Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, there is increased focus on rice. Rice which requires 120 centimeter of rainfall every year. But that region gets around 50 centimeter of rainfall every year.
Or even sugarcane.
Sugarcane.
UP, in southern parts of India as well.
So that is where these measures have to be mentioned or reasons. Then lack of natural recharge. We are in the midst of heat wave and drought cycles. So natural recharge is not happening. And that is exaggerated by the construction activities and the rapid scale of urbanization. Lack of proper planning when it comes to urban expansion. So even the natural aquifers which were there have been completely...
This prevents the percolation of the water, the groundwater.
So what we refer to as the cementation of the urban area, everything is covered in cement. So that has got its impact. Then urbanization and encroachment. And here we can take the example of the city that we are in. When we talk about Bangalore, now almost 100 years back, this was a city of more than 100 lakes. And now we have 2 or 3 lakes left. So natural absorbers or natural sponges, they have been reduced. And one factor again important is sand mining. The increased sand mining mafias which were earlier restricted to Indo-Gangetic plains but now have percolated even in the peninsular part of the plateau. Now that sand mining for the short run increases the water flow in the streams and the rivers, but over the long run that completely depletes the groundwater reserves as well. Something that we observe majorly in the region of the Aravali watershed, and nowadays even in the region of Kaveri watershed, this has been observed, due to which there is a depletion and a decline in groundwater.
And sir, I think this approach that you're suggesting, it actually broadens the perspective that a student takes in the answer.
That has to be...
it gives a more holistic coverage.
Coverage has to be provided. Right. And then the government initiatives, as it was straightforward asked. So you have to mention. So very simple point. If you are able to recall the government initiatives, mention that. Fair enough. But then even if, let's suppose, at the time of examination we are forgetting a couple of these initiatives. So whatever causes that you have mentioned, why groundwater is depleting, provide a way forward solution for each one of them. That also is a shortcut
Hack.
for
It's a hack
for answer writing.
Yeah.
So river rejuvenation programs that have been launched, Atal Bhujal Yojana, Krishi Sinchai Yojana, that basically involves more crop per drop, National Aquifer Mapping and Management Program. So these could be basically mentioned. Crop diversification is an important aspect of that as well. Then moving on to the next question, sir. Mineral resources are fundamental to the country's economy and these are exploited by mining. Why is mining considered an environmental hazard? Again, a portion of hazard. Explain the remedial measures required to reduce the environmental hazard due to mining. So, sir, this is something which has been, I think, repeated in news headlines since 2015 onwards. I think we have multiple reports associated with this.
We also had rat hole mining incidents
Yes.
that led to loss of life in Meghalaya.
Yeah.
And
in fact, the mercury poisoning, which is being observed. Now, mercury is one of the contaminants released during the mining processes.
activities. The leaching of heavy metals, toxic metals into the ground.
You have soil contamination, which can eventually reduce the crop productivity, renders the entire region absolutely barren. And this is where one of the different examples that you can put is the Jharia coal mine, which is burning for the past 2.5 decades. So that entire region has been converted into a barren landscape. So again, taking from the cue of the previous question, the contamination of the groundwater, contamination of soil, contamination of air, then you also breathe in many of these, and that causes black lung diseases and silicosis. These are some of the common diseases which one can get impacted by. So soil erosion and contamination, water, air pollution and health hazards, each one of them, I think we can easily mention. And the initiatives, the Mines and Minerals Act, which was there, it does talk about the rehabilitation and the regulation of the mining activities, how the entire region should not be completely barren, mine closure and reclamation practices. But yes, there is a need for regulation in this as well. Increased focus on renewables. Now, this point not only provides a kind of a way forward, sir, but it also focuses upon that when you have that attention on renewables, then the present day fossil fuel that we are mining increasingly. And this was a disaster in Assam as well, where if you recall that the oil drill actually leaked and burst. And there was fire.
It took several days to plug
in fact, months, a couple of months to get that in order. And regular monitoring of the Environment Act. So here, do mention all the acts, starting with the Air Act, Water Act, Environment Protection Act. These three acts have to be mentioned, and that will be
role of Pollution Control Board.
Yeah, so it will come under the Water Act itself. That under the Water Act and Environmental Protection Act, CPCB has been given greater powers. So greater regulation and monitoring by CPCB is required. And then, so write a review on India's climate commitments under the Paris Agreement and mention how these have been further strengthened in COP26, Glasgow 2021. In this direction, how has the first NDC intended by India been updated in 2022? So here, sir, all of us will agree that this was very much expected. The conference of parties which are held, that is a major news story.
Topic.
Already we are seeing the COP30, which is going to be held in Brazil. There are a lot of diplomatic outcomes coming around it. So,
and even the recent advisory opinion of ICJ
for the reform of UNFCCC. So this was very much expected and very easy, in fact, as well. Because COP26 was when India declared its Panchamrit goals. So that COP26 is very important, the Glasgow Conference of Parties. And again, not to repeat ourselves, but we have covered it very significantly and in a detailed manner, not only the plus classes, but even in the current affairs session. So earlier, at 2015 in Paris Agreement, these were some of our commitments. The GDP's emission intensity to be reduced to around 30 to 35%. And this is how this has changed in the Panchamrit goals. And what we have done, very tactfully as a nation is we have realized that no other country is following and meeting their NDC targets.
Right.
So in name of updating our NDC targets, we have simply relied upon that we will fulfill our Panchamrit goals, which we had already announced in 2021. So the updated NDC is nothing but the meeting of the Panchamrit goals announced in the COP26. So 40% cumulative power from renewables and additional carbon dioxide storage, carbon sequestration. This was our commitment around 2015 Paris Agreement. But then after that, the Panchamrit goals happened, where these were the 5 pointers. I think everybody would remember at least net zero by 2070 was very clear.
The renewable goal.
Renewable goal. So here itself you see an updation in terms of the renewable. Earlier it was around 40%.
Right.
In Panchamrit, India updated it to 50%.
50%.
Earlier, even when we talk about emission intensity is 33 to 35, India updated it to 45%. These form your updated Panchamrit goals. So that was basically the question associated with environment ecology. I would say that as compared to last year, it was much easier. And if someone would have had their basic understanding of the chronology of, for example, Conference of Parties, or if someone has focused on the key concept of pollution and so on, they would have had an easier time. Right. So, because many of them ask that why do we still read about pollution? Why do we still read about these aspects of environmental hazards? Should we not directly start learning the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries? This is the reason why you have to understand.
And sir, this again shows that students have to stick to the basics.
Basic concepts, sir.
Yeah.
If your basics are in order.
Exactly. And your current affairs are in order. You practice enough answer writing. I think these papers are very easy to handle.
Absolutely, yes, sir. So now, sir, take over for the internal security questions and
Thank you, sir.
We'll swap places.
So thank you, Mukesh sir, for a very insightful discussion on environment ecology questions. Now let's take a quick look at the questions from internal security. As always, we have got 4 questions from internal security for 50 marks. So this time, there has been no change in the trend or the type of questions that were asked. These were largely anticipated questions, sir.
Right.
The topics were very much in the news.
Yes.
In the subject of internal security, major topics are left-wing extremism, northeast insurgency, terrorism. And all 3 topics have come for a question based on current events.
Left-wing extremism has been in so much focus.
So much focus, especially after Prime Minister Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah
Minister has been repeating
declared a goal, Naxal Mukt Bharat by 2026.
Right.
And we did a YouTube session dedicated to this, covering almost the same question.
You had a marathon session.
Covering all of Naxalism.
Right.
So if these basics were done, all the questions were very easy to answer, sir.
Yes.
It's all about structuring the answer in the right way. So let's look at the questions one by one. This was the question for 10 marks, 150 words. Question number 9. Terrorism is a global scourge. How has it manifested in India? Elaborate with contemporary examples. What are the countermeasures adopted by the state? Explain. So basically there are 4 parts into this question. But let me tell you, this part of the question, the first part is a repeat.
Okay.
In 2017, UPSC had asked exact same statement.
Sentence was same.
The sentence was exactly the same. The scourge of terrorism is a challenge to our national security.
Right.
So the introduction remains the same. So this again tells you, as you pointed out earlier, sir, look at PYQs.
Yes.
Analyze them properly. Go through these previous questions and at least some of the topics will get sorted for you.
Yeah.
So if you had seen that question paper and prepared for the topic of terrorism, how is it a scourge for national security, you will be able to provide a very good introduction for this particular question. So you essentially have to talk about how it has manifested in India, the different manifestations of terrorism. For example, you can break it down into bullet points.
Yes.
Talk about, let's say, cross-border terrorism.
Right. If
cross-border terror, especially from our neighbor, dear neighbor Pakistan, would be one manifestation of terrorism that India experiences. So just maybe one line about this.
Okay.
Then another manifestation would be ideological.
Right.
Ideologically motivated terror.
Okay.
So here we can plug the example of Naxalism as well.
Okay.
Though Naxalism, Northeast insurgencies are type of insurgencies, Government of India declares all these groups as terrorist groups under the UAPA.
Yeah.
So you can bring in that angle as well. So many times when the students look at the word terrorism, they'll stick to only Pakistan-sponsored terror groups.
Yeah.
So that shows you have a very limited understanding of the topic.
Yeah.
So you need to widen that, explain that ideological motivation.
ULFA was one of the first groups to be
Yes, banned
and treated as a terrorist group.
Correct,
yes.
sir. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can bring in that angle, ideological and ethnic.
Right.
So these are different forms, manifestations of terrorism that India has experienced. And we can bring in the transnational angle,
Yes.
global terror organizations such as ISIS, for example, the
Right.
transnational perspective.
Yeah.
So 4 pointers are more than enough. One example for each that explains the manifestation of terrorism.
Digital terrorism.
That can also be plugged in.
Cyber
terrorism, for example. Yeah. 100%, sir. So this covers a part of the question. Now, your elaboration is also done. Contemporary examples have been given. Maybe you can try to plug in Pahalgam attack to give it more contemporary angle. Under cross-border terrorism, how Pakistan has consistently backed terrorism against India. Give the example of Pahalgam attack. And finally, countermeasures. Last part of the body in the conclusion, you can dedicate this for countermeasures.
Right.
So in countermeasures, you have to be a little elaborate here.
Right.
In the countermeasures, you should not only discuss the security measures, focus on the development aspect as well. Because this is the very first chapter in internal security, sir.
Right.
Linkages between development and extremism, how the two are connected. The lack of development fuels extremism.
Right.
And the inverse is also true. As in, one way to counter extremism is to provide for better development. So address both the pillars of this approach that India has been taking.
Okay.
Maybe in security, talk about improving your intelligence gathering.
Yes.
Mention the reforms that we have carried out, how India established NIA after 26/11 Mumbai attacks.
Yes.
Talk about the multi-agency center, which has helped in better intelligence sharing and collaboration between different agencies.
Right.
Because many times what has happened, different agencies will have pieces of information which they don't share with each other. And as a result, some attacks, they slip through.
Yeah.
And as they say, terrorists have to get lucky only once. Whereas our forces have to be lucky each and every time.
Yeah.
So to prevent that, you need better coordination. So talk about these structural measures.
Primacy of the office of NSA can be
the NSA, yes, absolutely. That point can also be plugged in, sir.
Yeah.
100%. So talk about the institutions, the counter-terror architecture that we have. Maybe even make a mention of the legal framework.
Okay.
Talk about UAPA being the primary anti-terror law of India. Talk about our global efforts, how we engage in coercive diplomacy to isolate Pakistan, bring pressure on Pakistan, how we use global platforms like United Nations, the 1267 Sanctions Committee, FATF.
Yeah.
So all these points can be plugged in.
Is there a scope for, sir, some of the draconian state laws, for example, Makoka?
Yeah.
So do we
Maybe you
also,
can try to present that angle
in terms of cybercrime or no?
For example, under the legal framework when you're discussing, you can mention we have had a rough history with the anti-terror laws of India, be it TADA, POTA, Makoka. They have been controversial as well on the grounds they have been alleged to have been misused.
Yes.
They have been abused as well by the police forces, especially at the state level. So just to bring some balance into the answer, maybe you can try to plug that in.
Right.
But be very careful. You can't end up accusing the state of violating human rights. So it's a very delicate area, but definitely you can try to plug that in as well.
Right.
Then discuss some developmental measures, how improving infrastructure, driving economic activities in the conflict zones of India. This is always a primary tool to counter extremism.
Inclusive
Growth and development, better infrastructure, economic activities, focusing on tourism.
When it comes to Naxal, FRA and its major implementation.
Implementation of FRA, implementation of grassroots institutions, Panchayati Raj institutions. All these pointers can be brought out. So that essentially completes the answer. So
it is a 10 marker after
10
all,
marker
so you
after
cannot
all. You can't go beyond that. Now let's look at the next one. This was the question that we were talking about on Naxalism. Since PM Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah had declared this goal that India would be Naxal Mukt Bharat by March 2026, it was a very ambitious goal. And we have seen some tremendous success by our security forces. Though Operation Sindoor took all the limelight, this hasn't got much attention, Operation Black Forest.
And it was that hilly regions of Andhra Pradesh.
That on the borders of Chhattisgarh and Odisha.
Chhattisgarh and Odisha.
Yeah, in the Dandakaranya region. The General Secretary of the
Yeah.
Communist Party was
Communist.
taken out.
Yeah.
The top leadership, especially senior commanders, have been eliminated. And Naxal incidents have declined
The
rapidly.
Politburo has been completely removed.
Removed almost.
Out of 11, only 4, I think, or 3 are remaining.
Yes, the leadership has been targeted.
Yeah.
And even the strongholds, the bases that they had, they've almost been decimated.
Yes.
So these are rapid advances that Indian forces have made, and India is clearly on the brink of almost extinguishing Naxalism.
Yes.
If not ideologically, at least on the ground.
Yeah.
I think that's what we are seeing. So that's why this question has been asked, very anticipated question. The government of India recently stated that LWE will be eliminated by 2026. So that's the opening statement. What do you understand by left-wing extremism? How are the people affected by it? What measures have been taken by the government to eliminate left-wing extremism? So in the introduction, you can start out by talking about the goal, the Naxal Mukt Bharat goal that was set by the government. Then explain the ideology, how it is influenced by Mao Zedong's ideology, a protracted people's war, and how it essentially focuses on luring farmers, peasants, tribals, those who are disadvantaged by state abuse and exploitation. So try to present that ideology, try to illustrate what exactly is left-wing extremism.
Just to ask, is there a scope to bring about some map to add the in terms of red corridor and how it has been reducing? Or
if a student is well versed with drawing a map, I mean, many times students they end up drawing a very incorrect map. Yeah. So if they have a habit, it's always good. It's a value addition. They can quickly show which states are affected or just depict the red corridor. So it's a value addition to the answer. But otherwise, they should not waste time as well, because it's a 10-mark question again.
Right. So if you are drawing a map like this, don't draw it.
Don't draw it.
Yeah. Good.
So if you have the habit and if you've practiced it, then absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. Okay.
So once you discuss this, then you can talk about the impact on the people, the civilians, how farmers have been affected, how livelihoods have been disrupted. Because, sir, in any conflict, civilians are collateral damage. They get caught between extremists on one side, security forces on the other side. And Naxals in particular are notorious for targeting locals on the allegation that they are police informants. Let's say there is a major counterinsurgency operation. Naxals go and target the local villages, assuming that someone has informed the police and the intelligence.
That was even the outcome of the Salva Judum. And there was, in fact, this was mentioned in news multiple times in the past month and a half, when there was a plea for contempt case to be filed against the Chhattisgarh government. They had modified their legislation in order to accommodate the arming of
and this is even after Supreme Court declaring Salva Judum as unconstitutional in the Nandini Sundar case. Yeah. So you can discuss this, explain the ideology here, and explain the impact, the humane consequences essentially, how people have been uprooted, how they have been distracted onto the wrong path. The youth especially have been brainwashed, radicalized. So talk about the long-term consequences of this, the impact on the economy as well, how livelihoods of tribal communities have been uprooted.
We need to mention.
Exactly. So these points have to be clearly mentioned and brought out. Then the countermeasures. And again, divide the countermeasures into two parts, the security measures and developmental measures. So keep it very simple. You don't have to be very elaborate. It's 150-word answer. So just maybe mention a couple of security initiatives. For example, there's a scheme, sir, called Security Related Expenditure Scheme, under which MHA provides reimbursement for state governments which are dealing with Naxalism, reimbursing the cost for police modernization. So it's an incentive model. So just mention the scheme, the SRE scheme. So this would be a value addition. And talk about how the operations are intelligence driven. These are targeted operations which are taking place right now, where IB is playing a very prominent role directly under the National Security Council, under the NSA. So that role can be mentioned.
And in that scheme, sir, do we also mention when you are talking about role of developmental measures as well? Is there any role for aspirational district scheme as well?
Yes, absolutely. In the development part, you can definitely mention aspirational districts program. You can talk about integrated action plan, which was launched by the Planning Commission back in 2010.
810,
yes. So all these pointers can be mentioned. The improved infrastructure, fortification of police stations, because Naxals are known to loot the armory. So all those pointers can be brought in. And they can even mention the role of special forces. One big success in our fight against Naxalism is because of the usage of special forces.
Okay.
For example, how Andhra Pradesh police back in 80s and 90s, they registered a big success by using the greyhounds.
Right.
They mainly recruited from the local population, the affected youth, and those Naxals who had surrendered. So they were mainly recruited into special forces. They had better local knowledge. They had better connect with the local community. They understood tribal language and customs.
Yeah.
So they could generate that intelligence based on which these targeted operations were carried out. Now we are seeing exactly the same in Chhattisgarh.
Cobra Commandos.
Cobra Commandos of CRPF and the District Reserve Guard of Chhattisgarh State Police. These 2 points, just 2 points if possible, try to mention that. And as Mukesh sir said, under development, talk about aspirational districts program and in general the improvements that we have done in governance, in administration. That's it. Your answer is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
FRA can be if you have
FRA can be if you
but it is a 150
should be more than sufficient.
Yeah.
Next, coming to the 15-mark questions, last 2 questions. So this was on Northeast insurgency, and though specific topics were not in the news, like for example, be it Assam or Naga insurgency, they have been subdued from a long time. The only issue from Northeast which was in the news was Manipur. So everybody would have been obsessed with the Manipur issue, but the UPSC has asked a very broad question talking
but you
about.
had predicted this, sir. You had talked about it. That
In our plus classes and in our Conquer Mains program, sir, we had always pointed out that please focus on the peace accords and peace agreements, because the Modi government has been very proactive in the last decade to address the insurgencies in Northeast through the peace process.
Okay.
Back in 80s, we did resolve issues with, let's say, Mizo insurgents in Tripura as well. But after that, there had been a lack of focus, I would say, on building the peace process and the dialogue with the insurgents and extremists. But the Modi government has really stepped up the initiative. And in last 10 years, there have been at least more than 6 important peace agreements and peace processes that have been started.
Okay.
And this has a very, very huge impact on stability in Northeast India. So that is the focus here. So I've been asking my students from a long time, focus on this. You might get a very broad question on this. So first you talk about the major challenges. You can talk about the terrain of Northeast India. Geography, sir, I think you will be able to better explain this. Why the terrain, the topography contributes to so much violence and insurgency.
Yeah, and because of the hills that are there and the passes that are there, that allows for the insurgents to easily mingle and merge into even Myanmar and even from one state to another. So the accountability becomes difficult.
Even the demography, the multi-ethnic nature of the region and the intertribal issues as well, which could lead to such violence, and the unwillingness to accept outsiders, especially the Bangladeshi refugees and illegal migrants.
So they are very threatened, and in many cases rightfully so, because the demography has changed on ground in many of the states.
So these factors, geographical factors, can be mentioned, and discuss the cross-border factors from Bangladesh, from Myanmar, as you said, the constant infiltration, the organized crime which has flourished in this region, the role of hostile actors like Pakistan and China, PLA
in terms of
and MSS, the Ministry of State Security. They have been directly involved in arming and funding these insurgents against India. So mention these 4-5 factors and explain the challenges in Northeast India. Then reserve the rest of your answer for the peace process and the agreements that we have seen in the past decade. So here, what will you mention? I would suggest you start with 2015. The most important peace process that was started, the Naga peace process, with the signing of the framework agreement. It was a pivotal moment when Prime Minister Modi himself was there with Isaac Moiva, the founders of NSCN. And you usually don't find prime ministers sharing the dais with extremists. So this was a very rare occasion, because India was doing something incredible. Yes, the process has been delayed. We still don't have a final agreement, but at least the process was initiated. And this was a very big step. So you have to mention the Naga peace process, started in 2015. Then the Bodo Peace Accord of 2020. One of the biggest achievements in Northeast India for the Modi government. The NDFB, which is a notorious Bodo insurgent group, which had been sheltered in Bangladesh, sponsored by Pakistan, had been extremely notorious for brutal attacks in Assam, including the communal attacks in the region as well, sir. So that point can be mentioned. The Bodo peace process, the third Bodo Accord, it permanently ended Bodo insurgency. There have been 2 previous accords, but they never fully succeeded in bringing Bodo insurgency to an end. The third one was important, which was signed in 2020. And right now, NDFB has fully surrendered. They have been mainstreamed as well. A lot of developmental benefits have been announced. So just a mention of that and why this was significant.
Yeah.
Then bring in the Bru refugee crisis,
Yeah.
the surrender of NLFT in Tripura,
Hmm.
which we saw in 2019.
Hmm.
Then you can also mention the peace process in the Karbi Anglong
Anglong.
region in Assam. I think this is more than enough.
Yeah. In fact, even in NSCN, we can talk about the Khaplang faction as well.
Yes.
Which has been almost completely removed from
Decimated.
decimated from the
Yeah.
region. Yeah.
So all these pointers can be brought out. And in Manipur, since that is also in the news, India has recently restarted the peace process with the Kuki armed groups and signed peace agreements with the Metis outfits as well.
Yeah.
So that is something which can be mentioned, and that is more than sufficient for this question.
Yeah.
Now coming to the last question, maritime security. So this is again a topic which students have been ignoring from a long time. Because sir, UPSC always has asked questions on cybersecurity, border management, and students would often ignore this. So this is from border management, but not land borders. This is focused on the coastal maritime borders. So why is maritime security vital? To protect our trade interests and discuss the security challenges and the way forward.
Yeah.
So again, I think geography faculty like Mukesh sir would be able to better explain
But
why
sir,
sea trade.
before we go into that, there was an essay question which was absolutely the same, that the management of India's borders is a complex issue, and there you had to talk about the maritime security because post 2611, maritime security gained a lot of prominence.
Right.
And this was also something which was relevant, sir, since last year after uranium and that port.
Correct.
So this has been one of the issues.
And also the threats present in the Indian Ocean.
Indian Ocean region.
Be it the choke points like Hormuz and Malacca, Bab el-Mandeb, the attacks with the Houthis, which has disrupted sea trade. So maybe students can start with an introduction where you present some data. For example, 90% of India's trade is borne through the sea route. 70% by value of our trade is
90% by volume,
70% by value. Something like that. A fact, a data pointer like that will help. In Naxalism question, I forgot to mention, maybe they could have mentioned the decline in Naxalism.
Yes.
At one point, more than 130 districts were severely affected. Now according to latest data, it's in single digits.
6.
Only 6 are the most affected districts. So just one line, one data pointer will show that the answer is substantial.
It authenticates your answer. So that is the importance of data pointer, that it will always authenticate your answer. And mind you, when we talk about this, sir, there has been a kind of a revision of India's coastal length as well. It has been increased to around 11,200 kilometers from earlier 7,200 kilometers.
Right.
So that means that there is an increased focus on retaining that coastal security. So from Great Nicobar, the threat associated with the Chinese to the aspect of the pirates in the region of Gulf of Aden.
Right.
So the entire gamut has to be covered.
Correct. So first explain the significance of maritime trade and maritime security for India, the challenges that are present as we have pointed out, and discuss the measures, the way forward.
Right.
So what India has done, especially in the last 15-20 years to strengthen its maritime and coastal security. Sir, you are talking about 2611 attacks that clearly exposed the gaps in our maritime and coastal defense. So the then Manmohan Singh government started a very important initiative, the Coastal Surveillance Radar Project.
Yes.
And today we have not only covered the entire coastline of India, including our island territories, but we have expanded this coastal radar project to other countries as well, to Mauritius, to Seychelles.
IOR in the entire
across the IOR region. And the shipping data which is collected, it is all channeled into one headquarters at Gurugram, the IFC IOR. So this center, which has become pivotal for maritime intelligence, it has gained so much prominence that foreign navies, which are friendly to India, they are deploying their liaison officers to share and exchange intelligence with India.
Correct.
So that point can be mentioned.
Yes.
And talk about the naval capabilities, the role of Coast Guard.
Coast Guard. So Coast Guards has been commissioning frigates. And that was never the case with the Coast Guards. They were always in terms of the lighter vessels, the shallow vessels, but they are now developing their capabilities to further patrol slightly deeper waters.
Exactly. And the ambition of the Indian Navy to become a blue water navy.
Blue water navy.
And to put in place a 3-tiered defense, maritime defense, where Navy forms the first line, Coast Guard the second, and the coastal police forms the third line, and involvement of local community as well, through regular exercises and drills. So this is a lesson that we have drawn from 2611 Mumbai attacks. So mention all these measures, the security measures that we have taken, the deployment of technology.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to patrol and guard such a vast coastline.
Coastline.
It's almost impossible. And look at the EEZ, the size of India's exclusive economic zone, and how Indian Ocean is very open and quite vulnerable in that regard. So you need satellites, you need drones, you need aerial surveillance through platforms such as P8 Poseidon. So you can plug all that in over here regarding the measures that we are taking to strengthen our coastal security.
When we are talking about Navy, so naval doctrine of being the net security provider of the IOR. So that stems from our ability to maintain our own maritime security. So that is again one of the
So here you can bring that interlinkage with IR. As Mukesh sir pointed out, India's vision of being a net security provider. The Sagar doctrine has now been expanded to Mahasagar.
Perfect.
And it perfectly aligns with our goal to secure the Indian Ocean, because our economy, our security, our future is dependent on it. So if you can present that in the answer, I think that's more than sufficient. So as you can see, all these questions, be it from economy, be it from environment ecology, be it from internal security, they've all been pretty straightforward only if you had covered current affairs and thoroughly focused on the static part.
So the concepts need to be in place. You cannot ignore the basic concept. For example, even if you take a look at the internal security, unless and until you don't have the analysis of the root cause of this Naxalism that sir was talking about, starting from the Mao's idea. So unless and until you don't have that analysis, your answer will always be very shallow. So just current affairs won't suffice, just the static won't suffice. It is the perfect convergence of that which you have to attain. And that is where this question paper is not that difficult. In fact, I would argue that as compared to last year, it is slightly on the easier side.
Slightly on the easier side.
Right.
True.
Right.
So now we will take a short break and Hima ma'am will join us in to discuss the science and technology questions. Any last words, sir?
Just continue working, be regular, be disciplined, and attend all the sessions. And next year can be your year for success.
So just wait for a few seconds. It might take a couple of minutes maybe. Hima ma'am will join us soon and will be discussing all the science and technology questions. And if you guys are benefiting from our sessions, do support us with your likes and comments.
Good evening, all of you. Am I audible, visible? Yes. Good evening once again. Good evening, good evening. So please let me know in the comments whether I'm audible, visible. Is everything clear? Am I audible, visible? Yes. Thank you. So let us start with the discussion of science and technology questions from this paper. First of all, very happy to say that all the 4 questions, the questions numbered 5, 6, 15, 16, along with the number of the questions we planned in the strategy session just before the mains examination. So the questions 5, 6, 15, 16, all the questions appeared from our YouTube sessions which we have taken as a part of Conquer Prelims and Conquer Mains initiatives. First of all, very happy to say that. Okay. Now let us discuss the questions one after the other. Right? Let us discuss the questions one after the other. The first question is the fusion energy program. The fusion energy program in India has steadily evolved over the past few decades. Mention India's contributions to the International Fusion Energy Project, that is ITER project. What will be the implications if this project becomes successful? So how to deal with this question? I have given the ready-made answers here. So introduction to start with. India's fusion energy program began in the year 1982 itself. This starting point will justify the sentence given in the question, that is evolved over the past few decades. I mean the program started in the year 1982 itself. With what? With the plasma physics program. What is plasma? So plasma is the fourth state of matter, just like solid, liquid and gas, the fourth state of the matter. And what is the relation between plasma and the nuclear fusion reaction? The fusion can occur only in the plasma when the matter is, when the deuterium and tritium atoms are in other forms like solid or liquid, they cannot fuse. They must be present in the form of plasma, which is a very high temperature material. Okay, and the Institute of Plasma Research was established. Then after that what we have done towards the nuclear energy program, after that what we have done is indigenous experimental tokamak reactors. Before we further discuss, let us first see what is nuclear fusion. In simple words, nuclear fusion is, okay, in simple words the nuclear fusion is my volume okay? Right. In simple words, the nuclear fusion is nothing but hydrogen will combine with hydrogen to give the helium. But directly it is not hydrogen and hydrogen, the heavy isotopes of the hydrogen, that is deuterium plus tritium. What are the deuterium and tritium? The heavy isotopes of the hydrogen. Indirectly they are hydrogens. Two hydrogens combining to form the helium. Two atoms, light atoms fusing together to form a slightly heavier atom is nothing but the nuclear fusion. If you look at this diagram here, deuterium combining with tritium, okay, deuterium combining with tritium to form the helium and one neutron is released. Just look at this fusion reaction. In addition to helium, nothing else is released. No carbon emissions, no nuclear waste, no radioactive waste material. So this is 100% clean energy. This is 100% clean energy. This is fusion reaction. Then what is a tokamak reactor? What is a tokamak reactor? A tokamak reactor looks like this. A tokamak reactor is nothing but the fusion reaction, a fusion reactor. A reactor where the hydrogen will combine with hydrogen to form the helium, or deuterium will combine with tritium to form the helium. And I told you this reaction will occur only in the plasma. Okay, so if you see, this is nothing but the plasma current. Okay, plasma current means what? This plasma will keep moving in the form of a circle like this. It will keep moving in the form of this circle. Why it is kept moving? Because this plasma temperature is extremely high. If it touches the walls of the reactor may either blast or melt. So that is the reason why using strong magnets, this plasma current is kept in the motion so that it is always maintained away from the wall of the reactor. Okay, this tokamak reactor is in the shape of a donut shape. Okay, it is in the form of a donut, like a ring-like structure. This is nothing but the tokamak reactor. I hope what is the fusion reaction? Deuterium combining with tritium to form helium. And where this deuterium will combine with tritium to form the helium? In the plasma current. This plasma composition is deuterium plus tritium in the form of plasma. Deuterium plus tritium in the form of plasma will keep moving. Here they will fuse to form the helium. This is nothing but a tokamak reactor, a donut shaped reactor, also called as fusion reactor. And coming back to the introduction, okay, So, indigenous experimental tokamak reactors. The question is asking about international thermonuclear experimental reactor. What is India's contribution in that? Obviously, we'll discuss about that, but before that, do we also have any indigenous experimental tokamak reactors? Yes. The first one is Aditya. It is commissioned in the year 1989 itself. And then after that, with the success of Aditya, we established a little larger tokamak reactor which is called as SST. This is also commissioned in the year 2013. It means we already have indigenous tokamak reactors. But does it mean that, you can keep responding, you can keep answering. So does it mean that are we producing the energy through nuclear fusion? We have fusion reactors called Aditya and SST1 and they are already commissioned. So does it mean that we are producing electricity using the fusion reactors? Yes, everybody? No, they are still in the experimental stage. They are still in the experimental stage. These are the tokamak reactors constructed for the experimental purpose. Then, in addition to having our own indigenous tokamak reactors, India is also a member in the ITER project and also testing the LLC TBMs. What is LLC TBM? This is nothing but liquid lithium ceramic test blanket module. What is this? This is a device which we use in the ITER project, and not only ITER project, also in any other tokamak projects, any other tokamak reactors. So these are all the things that we had been doing since past few decades. This is our journey from 1982 till date in the direction of constructing a functional nuclear reactor or the tokamak reactor. After introduction, the next subheading is India's contributions to the ITER project. ITER is an experimental fusion reactor. See, just like I told you that in India we do not have a functional tokamak reactor, in the world also we do not have a functional tokamak reactor. It means there is no reactor in which we are generating electricity using the nuclear fusion. All these are only experimental reactors. So this is still under construction in Cadarache, south of France. And ITER partners, what all countries are the partners of this project? European Union, China, India, Japan, South Korea, Russia and the United States of America. And being the host party, the European Union will have 45% contribution and role in the ITER project. Remaining all countries have 9% role or share in the ITER project. In this 9% role in the ITER project, what India is expected to do? Should we construct the ITER project? No. Should we operate the ITER project? No. So our role is only to provide certain components required in the tokamak reactor. So most of these contributions are through in-kind procurement of ITER components, just procuring the components, providing the components required for the ITER project. And India formally joined the ITER project in 2005 and the agreement between the partners was signed in the year 2006. Then ITER organization is a central team responsible for construction and operation. As I told you, India is not, or the other countries are also not constructing or operating the ITER project. So we are just procuring the components. Then who will take the responsibility of constructing and operating it? ITER organization, and European Union being the host party, having 45% responsibility. And it has a 5-year assembly phase. Is it clear? 5-year assembly phase, and plans to reach maximum power output by 2035. So from this what we have to understand is, in the world we do not have any fusion reactor which is generating electricity at the commercial level. Okay, this is just under the construction. Okay, fine. All these party countries should provide the components to the ITER project. Then which component India is providing? Okay. ITER India. So this is under the Institute of Plasma Research in Gujarat, along with partnering with L&T, Larsen and Turbo, okay, will manufacture and provide cryostat. So finally, what is India's role in the ITER project? Providing the cryostat. What is a cryostat? It is a coolant. It will keep the reaction mixture cool. Is it clear? It will keep the reaction mixture cool. So that is what is India's role in the ITER project. The third segment of this question, that is implications of ITER for future of the global energy. I mean, if the ITER project becomes successful, what are the uses? What are the advantages? First one, it is 100% clean energy. Let us suppose if we use fossil fuels like petrol, diesel, it will increase the carbon emissions or it will increase the carbon footprint. So they are not good. Okay. And if you use fission reactor, what are the regularly used nuclear reactors? Fission reactors. Is it clear? Fission reactors, nuclear fission. In that we use uranium, thorium, etc. Okay. So what are the regularly used nuclear reactors? Fission reactor. Fission is opposite to the fusion. One heavy atomic nucleus will split into two light atomic nuclei. Okay. So these are the regularly used nuclear reactors. But what is the problem with that? They will release radioactive waste and we don't know how to dispose of this radioactive waste. That is the major problem with the fission reactor. Okay. So fossil fuels and other fuels will increase carbon emissions. If you use fission reactor, it will release radioactive waste which is much more problematic. If you use ITER, okay, or tokamak reactors or fusion reactors, any fusion reactors, the advantage is, if you observe here, the only product which is released is helium. Is helium harmful to us? No, it is an inert gas. Okay, a harmless gas, inert gas, that is helium, is the only byproduct. Okay, so it means it can release 100% clean energy. No carbon footprint, no radioactive waste. Only helium, which is an inert gas, is the byproduct. Okay. Second advantage is unlimited raw material. For example, if you have to use fossil fuels, are they unlimited? No, they are non-renewable sources. So they will get exhausted. We don't have unlimited amounts of fossil fuels. Okay. Do we have unlimited amounts of uranium or thorium? No. Thorium, okay, we have, but we do not even have reactors that can utilize thorium. And in India, we have limited resources of the uranium. Also, the mining itself, okay, is energy consuming. So the mining process itself can lead to pollution. If it is hydrogen, hydrogen is freely available in the atmosphere. No need of mining, no fuel consumed in the mining process, no pollution released during the mining process, no need of imports. Unlimited amount of hydrogen is freely available in the atmosphere. We don't even require the mining. Unlimited raw material. What is the raw material? Hydrogen is the raw material abundant in the atmosphere. Plus, okay, you have enough amount of raw material. Not only that, little amount of raw material is enough. That is, fusion gives 4 times more energy when compared to the fission. So little amount of the fuel can be consumed and more amount of energy can be released. Okay, next. It can also reduce the usage of reduce the usage of non-renewable energy sources like fossil fuels. We can save the fossil fuels for the future generations as well instead of completely exhausting them. Okay, so these are the implications of the ITER for the future of the global energy. Okay, and what are the problems? What are the limitations of this project? First of all, time consuming. Okay, if you observe here, by 2035, just look at here, 2035, okay, it will be completed. But what is completed? Only the experiment will be completed. Okay, don't think that even the ITER project is a functional fusion reactor from which we can generate electricity at the commercial level. No, only the experiment will be completed. Is it clear? Okay, then after that we have to start constructing the actual reactor. So it is time consuming and very costly, and also releases a lot of heat. Accidents are possible. Okay, 4 times more energy when compared to the fission. Accidents are possible. So these are the disadvantages or limitations. Okay, that's all about this particular question, right? Okay, and did I cover this in my courses? Obviously, I have covered it in my Science and Technology comprehensive courses. But to my surprise, this year almost all the 4 questions which appeared are also covered in our YouTube initiatives for all the students. Okay, for example, this particular topic I have discussed in our prelims marathon. Okay, so ITER project, right? ITER project, clear? Okay, next. Now moving on to the second question. How can India achieve energy independence? How can India achieve energy independence through clean technology by 2047? How can biotechnology play a crucial role in this endeavor? Okay, so there are 2 parts of the question here. First one is how to achieve energy independence. Second one is what is the role of biotechnology in that? Okay, how to approach this question? First of all, introduction. India has targets of achieving 500 gigawatts of energy from the non-fossil by the year 2030. Also, India has a target of achieving net zero carbon emissions by the year 2070. So, to reach these targets, we have to be independent in the clean technology by the year 2047. And for that, what are the initiatives taken to achieve this clean energy? Okay, first one, PM Surya Ghar, Muft Bijli Yojana. The target is to add 30 gigawatts of solar capacity from the rooftop installation of the solar panels. Strengthen the distribution companies, okay, electricity distribution companies. Improve finances to the renewable energy resources. Attract renewable energy investment from the other countries. Next, green hydrogen as a clean substitute. Instead of fossil fuels, we can also use green hydrogen. Biofuels can be used. Is it clear? Biofuels can be used, right? Next. Next. Compressed biogas is one alternative. Sustainable alternatives towards affordable transportation. And critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, nickel must be resourced, arranged. And we can depend on nuclear, as we just discussed, nuclear fission and nuclear fusion also. And also storage capabilities like our lithium ion batteries, sodium ion batteries, etc. So these are a few initiatives in the direction. Moving on to the second part of the question, that is role of biotechnology in energy independence. Role of biotechnology in energy independence. Okay, so here first we can discuss about the biofuels. Biofuels. In the biofuels, we have generations of the biofuels. Okay, the first one is the first generation biofuels. Here what we do, in the first generation we use food crops. First generation biofuels we use food crops. Clear? Okay. Like for example, as it is given here, biodiesel, bioethanol, bioether and solid biofuels can be manufactured from corn, wheat, oil seeds, sunflower, safflower, okay, soybean oil, rice, peanut oil, okay, or sesame seeds. So oil producing crops, from that we can manufacture biodiesel. Is it clear? Oil producing, okay, any oil producing crops, biodiesel. Same way, any sugars, like say for example from sugar cane we can manufacture bioethanol. From sugar cane we can manufacture corn, any carbohydrate rich, okay, corn or any sugar cane, corn or any grains, okay, carbohydrates like rice, wheat, any such carbohydrate rich crops we can manufacture bioethanol. So all these are the first generation biofuels. What is the problem with the first generation biofuels? Okay, so there can be a scarcity of the food, okay, that is conflict between whether we have to use these crops for food security or to manufacture the biofuels. I repeat, first generation biofuels are food crops, like for example sugar cane or any grains like rice or wheat or corn, etc. From that we can manufacture bioethanol by fermentation process, or oil seeds like peanuts, sesame, etc. From that we can manufacture biodiesel. Very good, but the problem is food security issue. So second generation biofuels is non-food crops or inedible waste like citrus peel, cotton stalk. From that, okay, we can manufacture biohydrogen, biomethane, mycodiesel. Myco, the word myco is something related to the fungus, okay. So we can use fungi, algae, so from that we can manufacture. So this is nothing but the second generation. In what way second generation biofuels are good? In two ways. One is you are converting waste to the, we are converting waste to fuel. Second one, there is no scope of food shortage. I mean, there is no conflict between whether using these food crops for the food purpose or for the biofuels purpose. That is the advantage of the second generation biofuels. Now coming to third generation biofuels. Third generation biofuels is mainly by algae, that too microalgae like Chlorella vulgaris, Chlamydomonas, okay, reinhardt, other microalgae species, etc. can be used, not food crops, microalgae, okay. From that we can manufacture biofuels like biodiesel, bioethanol, biomethane and biohydrogen, okay. In all these things biotechnology can be used, okay. Finally, the fourth generation biofuels are genetically engineered microorganisms. We are not using the food crops, we are not even using the waste, not even naturally available microalgae. Particularly we are modifying the microorganisms in such a way that they can generate more biofuels. The quantity of biofuels also can increase, okay. Like genetically engineered or genomically edited, genome edited or genetically modified microorganisms. What is the advantage of fourth generation over the third generation? Third generation biofuels and fourth generation biofuels are almost similar. In both the cases we manufacture biofuels from the microorganisms, but the only advantage is in the third generation we use naturally available microorganisms, whereas in the fourth generation we use genetically engineered microorganisms. Because of that, the quantity of the or the yield, okay, or the quantity of the biofuels production can be increased. The products produced are similar to the third generation. This is the role of biotechnology in energy independence. Okay, now let us also see about microbial fuel cells. Let us understand about microbial fuel cells. Okay, this is a microbial fuel cell. So here what we do is we take some substrate. The substrate can be, okay, like sugarcane or agricultural waste, etc. Is that clear for all of you? What is the substrate used? It can be a crop, sugarcane if it is first generation, agricultural waste if it is second generation, or microalgae can also be used. Microalgae can also be used if it is third generation. Okay, so like that we use some substrate. Okay, then now what happens is the bacteria will oxidize, will break down this substrate. Bacteria will break down the substrate. This oxidation will release H plus ions, you can observe here, H plus ions, and also electrons. I repeat, we take a substrate. Bacteria will oxidize or break down or decompose this substrate. When this substrate gets decomposed, you will get, okay, H plus ions and electrons. H plus ions will go from the anode to the cathode through this membrane. H plus ions will go from the anode chamber to the cathode chamber through this membrane. Electrons will pass through this circuit. And this is where the electricity is generated. Electricity means passage of these electrons from the anode to the cathode. This is where the electricity is generated. This is the main product. Is it clear? This is the main. What is the main product of the microbial fuel cells? Energy. We are using biofuels to get energy. Now let us see what are the byproducts. Okay, the byproducts here are, look at here, first one, H plus is coming from here to here. You have H plus here, H plus, and electrons came from here, electrons. So H plus combines with electrons to form hydrogen atoms. Is that clear? Okay. H plus which is traveling from this membrane, through this membrane, and the electrons which passed through the circuit, both of them reached the cathode. Here the H plus will combine with electrons to form hydrogen atom, and oxygen comes from the atmosphere. Oxygen and hydrogen will combine to form the water. That's all. The only byproduct is water. It means 100% clean. Is it clear? And it can generate electricity. This is the role of biotechnology in achieving the clean energy. Same way we can have biohydrogen. Biotechnological advances in enzymes, microbes, genetic engineering to improve the conversion of biological material into the fuels. Furthermore, biotech innovatives like waste to energy, carbon capture using the microorganisms, bioremediation, these are the various things that biotechnology can do in achieving this clean energy target. Okay, so with that we understood what is the role of biotechnology in energy independence and clean energy. Okay, and finally the conclusion is clean energy technologies with biotechnological solutions offer India a holistic path to sustainable growth. It's a holistic path to sustainable growth, and also to lower the carbon footprint and true energy self-reliance by 2047. This is how biotechnology can help us, right? Okay. Then, did I discuss this particular question in my previous courses? Okay, yes, we have covered this in previous courses. These are the sessions, right? But not on the YouTube. I discussed this in the regular courses on the platform, right? Okay, next. Third question in today's class, that is 15th question, okay. Few days before the mains, I have also taken a analysis of previous year questions from the mains. If any of you have attended that, we have also made an observation that questions 5 and 6, 15 and 16 are the science and technology questions. Okay, I started the PYQ analysis session with that point. Okay, and this year also the same questions 5 and 6, 15 and 16, the numbers are also expected and the questions are also expected. Okay, right. So direct 50 marks, okay, from science and technology. Okay, and now coming back to the 15th question, how does nanotechnology offer significant as advancements in the field of agriculture? How can this technology help to uplift the socio-economic status of the farmers, right? So, introduction. In the introduction, let us cover what is nanotechnology. Nanotechnology refers to controlling, building, reconstructing the material or devices which are on the scale of atoms and molecules. The measure is 1 to 100 nanometer. Okay, if you deal with or construct, okay, or build or reconstruct, I mean you do anything with material whose size is 1 to 100 nanometers, we can call that technology as nanotechnology. Okay, which material it is doesn't matter. It can be gold, it can be silver, it can be silica, or it can be some biological nanoparticles. Like there was a previous prelims question, are all the nanoparticles only man-made or do nanoparticles exist in the nature? Nanoparticles do exist in the nature. I mean, in your periodic table, almost all the atoms, okay, are in the nanometer scale only. They are all natural. We did not produce them. Also, our viruses and some bacteria are in this 1 to 100 nanometer size range. You do anything with the particles whose size range is 1 to 100 nanometers, we can call that technology as nanotechnology. Okay, after understanding what is nanotechnology, let us try to see the applications of nanotechnology in agriculture. First of all, nano fertilizers. Nano encapsulated slow release fertilizers. For example, okay, imagine this is a nanoparticle. Nanoparticle. And you are keeping the fertilizer. Inside the nanoparticle. So what happens? The fertilizer will be slowly released into the soil. When the fertilizer is slowly released into the soil, we can reduce the amount of fertilizers used in the agriculture. Little amount of the fertilizer can achieve better results because we are packaging this in the nanoparticles. Okay, then gene delivery. Okay, gene delivery. Look at this. These are the nanoparticles. This is the nucleic acid. Okay, examples. Okay, can I give you any examples? Like Cry1AC gene in BT cotton, BT brinjal, etc. Okay. Genetically modified crops means what? Any crop in which a foreign gene is added. Now, how to add foreign gene? For that we can use nanoparticles as the carriers. Is it clear? To add foreign gene into any crop, we can use nanoparticles as carriers. Okay, pesticides, nanopesticides. Okay, nanopesticides can be used for efficient crop protection. Nothing, simple logic. Nanometer sized particles means what? They are small particles. So they can penetrate more easily. For example, a normal pesticide may not kill the insect, but a nanopesticide will effectively kill the insect because it can easily penetrate through the cells of the insect. Nanopesticide easily penetrates through the cell membranes of the insect or the pest, so effectively kills the pest. So little amount of pesticide can kill the insects or pests more effectively. Okay, and then we can use nano sensors to monitor the plant growth, plant nutrients, how much of nutrients are present in the soil, are the pests present in the soil, what are the soil conditions, what minerals are present in the soil. Using nano sensors, we can keep monitoring all these things. Okay, nanomaterials like carbon, silica, silver, etc. can be used to monitor even the plant diseases. I mean, are there any viruses, bacteria which are infecting the plants? If at all any plant pathogens are infecting the plants, these nanosensors like carbon, silica can be used to detect the plant pathogens. Is it clear? Okay, food processing. Let us suppose you have some food product. On the food product, let us suppose some food product. On the food product, what you do is we give a nano coating. For example, a chocolate. On the chocolate, nano coating. What is the advantage? Okay, on the fruits, nano coating. On the vegetables, nano coating. On the meat, on the fish, we can do nano coating. Is it clear? Meat, fish, fruits. What is the advantage? Their shelf life increases. Okay, their degradation, their spoiling rate can be reduced to extend the shelf life. These coatings can also provide flavor, color to the product. I mean, that fruits will look more bright colored. For example, quantum dots. Okay, so we can use nanoparticles which are in bright color, so the fruit's color and appearance and the flavor also can be enhanced. Okay, then soil enhancement. Nanomaterials can improve the soil quality by improving the functionality of the soil microbiome. We have movements like Save the Soil movement and all. Soil will have microbiome. This microbiome will help, okay, the plants to grow. Okay, and these nanomaterial, there are some nanomaterial which can improve the functionality of the soil microbiome. It will strengthen the soil microbiome. Okay, and also certain nanomaterial can increase the stress tolerance. Okay, plants will have different types of stress. Not only we people, even the plants will have stress. Okay, like drought can be a stress, less amount of water or more solar radiation, or the pest or the bacterial and viral infections. All these are the stress to the plants. Certain nanomaterial can make the plants to tolerate the stress more effectively. Okay, it can make the plants to tolerate the stress more effectively. And gene transfer, which I have already shown. Okay, like this, whatever gene you want to transfer into a crop, you can transfer it by packaging this into the nanoparticles. So the nanoparticles will act as carriers to carry this particular gene. Okay, then now nanourea, as some of you were mentioning, nanourea. What is nanourea? Urea only, but it is in the liquid form. And also the particle size of the urea is small. The size of the urea particle is less than 100 nanometers. Okay, manufactured by IFCO. Okay, and it is tens of times cheaper when compared to the normal urea. Half a liter nano urea will cost 240 rupees, whereas one bag of urea will cost 300 rupees, both have the same efficiency. I mean, one complete bag of regular urea is equal to just half-liter bottle of the nano urea. Okay, but both are roughly the same cost, but not even same cost. This is after heavy subsidy. In the international market, one bag urea is around 3 to 4,000 rupees. Okay, after subsidy it comes to the farmers, means it is a burden to the government. But the manufacturing cost of the nano urea, okay, which will give similar impact, is just 240 rupees. Next, it is directly sprayed on the leaves of the plants. So therefore, the urea entering into the soil, through the soil entering into the water bodies, causing chemical oxygen demand or eutrophication, this kind of problems also will not be there. Okay. Moreover, not only that, when conventional urea is 50% effective, the nano urea is up to 80% effective, okay, in providing the nutrients to the plants, right? Now, the third segment of this question, that is, what is the role of nanotechnology in uplifting the farmers' socio-economic status? Using nanotechnology, how can the farmers' socio-economic status can increase? First, boosting the crop yield. As we have seen, we can detect the plant diseases earlier, okay. Then the farmers can take precautions, so the crop yield increases. Nano urea 80% efficient when compared to the regular urea, so the crop yield increases, okay. And also, like the little amount of fertilizer will be enough, so we will give enough fertilizers to the plants. So therefore, by all means, the topics that we have discussed in these like topics is, okay, are going to boost the crop yield. Not only crop yield, quality of the crop increases. Why? Because look at here, okay, when you are enhancing the soil, okay, you are preventing the plant from the stress, okay, you are helping the plants in increasing the stress tolerance, okay, and better pesticides, better like GM crops can be manufactured, better fertilizers. By all these things, we can improve the agricultural yield, not only yield, even the quality. Reducing the input cost of the fertilizers, import cost of the fertilizers, pesticides and all those things. Improving the resources used through precision farming. Precision farming means what? Okay, we use nano sensors to detect the amount of fertilizers. If the fertilizers are less, then only we add fertilizers. If the soil is having enough fertilizers, then we don't add the fertilizers. By this mechanism, we can add exactly the correct amount of the fertilizers or the pesticides, okay. Then, nano coating of the food increases the shelf life. What is the major problem faced by the street vendors who sell the fruits and vegetables? They purchase the fruits and vegetables. They have to sell them, okay, within a day or two. Otherwise, they will get rotten, damaged. But by using this nano coating, if we are increasing the shelf life, the farmers can store them for a longer duration, okay, and then sell them before they get rotten. So this will also boost their uplift the farmers' socio-economic status. Nano sensors lead to early detection of the diseases. So the farmers will take quick response, okay, to like save the crop from the infections or the pathogens like viruses and bacteria. Do these virus bacteria infect the plants also? Yes, just like they infect the humans and animals, plants also get bacterial and viral infections. So we can detect them in the early stages and we can save the crop. When you can save the crop will become more predictable. That will also increase the economic status of the farmers. Finally, conclusion. Nanotechnology in agriculture is important for meeting the needs of growing population. Okay, I mean, if we use nanotechnology in the agriculture, we can provide food for the growing population. It is also a concept that can be kept under the green revolution category. Okay, so this will also help us in increasing the agricultural yield. so that we can avoid the world hunger, starvation deaths. Okay, we can provide food for the growing population. Not only that, however, okay, it can also pose risks to the living organisms, including the human beings. Okay, and also it can increase the socio-economic status of the farmers. Don't forget to add that point in the conclusion. Okay, now coming to, did I cover this particular question in our previous courses? Yes. Okay, it is covered in the one shot marathon, okay, which we took in the previous days on the YouTube as a free initiative. Okay, so just by watching the YouTube sessions also this year, all questions from the mains and most of the questions from the prelims you can answer. Okay, and by watching the complete comprehensive courses you can be extra sure, and also you will get enough knowledge to deal with science and technology in any competitive exams also. Okay, so these are the topics we covered before the paper, before the question appeared, right? Next, last question in today's class, the 16th question. Okay, India aims to become a semiconductor manufacturing hub. What are the challenges faced by the semiconductor industry in India? Mention the salient features of the Indian semiconductor mission. Okay, right. First of all, what do you mean by a semiconductor? Okay, semiconductor is a material that conducts electricity between the levels of conductors and insulators. Insulator means something that do not conduct the electricity. And superconductors are the material which conduct the electricity to the maximum extent without resistance. Okay, they are called superconductors. Semiconductor is neither an insulator nor a superconductor. It is in between the two. Okay, what are the semiconductor material? Some semiconductor material: silicon, germanium, gallium arsenide, gallium selenide, graphene are the examples of certain semiconductor materials, right? Then what are the challenges faced by the India's semiconductor industry? Okay, the second part of the question, what are the challenges faced? First one, shortage of the specialized manufacturing talent. Okay, we don't have skilled workers who can manufacture the semiconductors. Underdeveloped supply chain for critical raw material. We don't have enough raw material for the production of the semiconductors. High capital investment required, and inadequate infrastructure like stable water supply and electricity supply to the factories manufacturing the semiconductors. High import cost. By the way, we import the raw material required for the semiconductors from China, Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand and Japan. Global competition is another problem. Complex bureaucratic processes in approvals and all. Next, insufficient government fiscal support. Okay, we don't have enough financial support for the manufacture of the semiconductor material. Significant environmental concerns. I mean, manufacture of the semiconductors can also increase the pollution. Environmental concerns are also there. These are the challenges. The last segment of our last question is the India's semiconductor mission. The mission was launched in 2021 with a total financial outlay of 76,000 crores under the aegis of Ministry of Electronics, okay, Government of India, right? The mission. Now, salient features of the mission. In general, it is a tip to use the words and phrases used in the question as subheadings. They have given salient features of the mission. So our next subheading is salient features of the mission. ISM aims to reduce import dependence. I mean, without importing, we should be able to manufacture the semiconductors. It also aims to build a vibrant semiconductor and display ecosystem, promoting the indigenous intellectual property, indigenous development of the semiconductor technologies and the semiconductor material, fostering a trusted supply chain for the raw material and the equipment. Okay, I mean, we have seen in the challenges that we have problems in the supply chain. So seeing to it that the raw material are being supplied seamlessly, right? Enhancing the skill development. We have seen one of the challenges that we don't have the skilled workers to manufacture the semiconductor material. So work towards the skill development. Okay, and ISM has been working as a nodal agency for the following schemes. Scheme for setting up semiconductor fabricating factories, fabricating industries. Okay, semiconductor fabricating means what? Manufacturing industries. Scheme for setting up display fabs in India, display of the semiconductor. Scheme for setting up compound semiconductors, and compound semiconductors means mixtures, not like one element which is used as a semiconductor. Next, design linked incentive scheme. These are the schemes which are being implemented under this mission. Okay, and our target is to grow the semiconductor market to $109 billion by 2030 and achieve 10% share in the global market is our target, and also to become one of the top 5 semiconductor manufacturing nations by the year 2030. These are the targets, and the Indian Semiconductor Mission will help us to achieve these targets. Applications of semiconductors I have given as some extra points. It is not given in the question. Where do we use semiconductors? We use semiconductors in the central processing units, processors in the computers, LED TVs, okay, temperature and pressure sensors, pressure sensors, gas sensors, okay, and we use in inverters and converters, direct current to indirect alternative current converters and inverters, in that we use them. Silicon is the most common semiconductor used in the production of the solar panels. Computer processing units, LED TVs, temperature sensors, pressure sensors, gas sensors, electricity inverters, okay, and also in the production of the solar panels. So just look at it. The semiconductors are so advantageous. Okay, now finally, okay, did I cover this particular question also in our previous courses? Yes. Okay, that too not on the platform, on the YouTube, as a part of the initiatives to reach all the UPSC aspirants. We have covered this. Okay, semiconductor, right? Okay, most important science and technology is the course in which this topic was covered. India's semiconductor mission. I mean, I did not even cover something about the semiconductors, even the mission we discussed. Okay, so as it is, all the 4 questions in the mains this year and most of the questions in the prelims this year are from the courses, and most of them are from the YouTube initiatives as well. Thank you so much, okay, for your interest. Hope the people who have written the exam today, okay, have answered all these questions. Thank you.